Welcome everyone again to another great episode of the Semaphore Music Festival Podcast, where we're getting a chance to chat with all the amazing artists that are heading to Semaphore on the October long weekend to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Semaphore Music Festival. Today, I'm joined by none other than Ruby Gazzola, one of the team, one of the singers, one of the amazing musicians as part of Oscar the Wild, who are heading to Semaphore for the 20th anniversary. Ruby, good morning and thanks for your time today.
Good morning. No, thank you for having me.
Ruby, let's touch base on Semaphore before. Have you guys played there before at the festival?
Yeah, I think we have actually. We played out the front of Mr. V's music back, maybe it was like 2021 or something like that. I can't remember the year. They all kind of blend into one. But yeah, we played out the front of Mr. V's and it was just such a lovely vibe. Like, I love how many different groups of people the Semaphore Music Festival brings together.
That's one of the things we're hearing from everyone. It brings this amazing community of people, not just from the Semaphore and the South Australian region, but also people that come back every year. Like they've met other people at previous festivals, and
Right.
way beyond the city of Semaphore, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's very wholesome. That's super nice.
I mean, in a time when festivals are getting cancelled or winding up, like Blues Fest and so on, so there's little niche festivals which are keeping it alive, not only for the fan, but also, in your case, for the musician and the artist to get to share their music. So it's a great community. We're going to talk a little bit more about Semaphore a bit later on, but in the words of Maria Von Trapp, let's start at the very beginning. Oscar the Wild, what a fantastic band name. What's the story of the formation behind Oscar the Wild, and how did the band get its name?
The band got its name. I came up with the name. My favorite book as a kid was Where the Wild Things Are, and then at the time I was reading Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. So I kind of just merged the two together to make Oscar the Wild, and I thought it had like a pretty cool ring to it. But the formation of the band, it started off as just like high school friends. Like the original members all did like the school rock band, and now we've had like a few different members come in. And yeah, but it's still pretty much the same high school friendship kind of band, which is really nice.
Is that why the band is? Because you have this amazing, unique sound of, that I suppose unique Australian grunge that we have here in Australia. It's different to the Seattle sound, but still has influences from there. And then you fuse it with that indie pop. Is that coming from that school influence where you all worked together and you fused your musical influences?
Good question. Yeah, I think so. I think back when I started the band, I was really into that Australian sound. Like, loved Courtney Barnett, loved Skeggs, loved Violent Soho, all those kinds of musicians. But now, as the band is maturing a little bit, I find that we're finding our own brand of music. Like, the next bit of music that we're going to release feels very unique to us and not taken too much from other musicians or other bands, if that makes sense.
How do you maintain that authenticity then when, say, staying true to your own sound, not only in your songwriting, but also in your performances?
I think we're not really trying to come across as anything. We're not trying to put anything on or advertise ourselves or market ourselves. Like, that's definitely the hardest part of being a musician. We're just friends just playing music up on a stage, and I think we always stay true to that, which keeps the performance and keeps the music quite authentic, which I like.
That seems to resonate not only with your fan base, quite well online, and you have a emerging fan base, but also like the critics. Like you got this review from Brittany Spanos from Rolling Stone last year.
I know, wild,
wild.
Wild.
This is a woman who's written about Cardi B and all these amazing R&B artists for years, and as an icon of that Rolling Stone community. And then she picks you as one of the bands to watch. I mean, what goes through your mind when you hear that and you read that?
It's crazy. It's really crazy. The whole thing with Britney, we really didn't expect, but yeah, she just liked our music. I think, yeah, that was pretty mind blowing, to be honest with you.
Yeah. for bands that are coming from that path that Oscar the Wild has come from the school into the, what we call, I suppose, the current music industry, how important are things like attending Big Sound and other events like that in South by Southwest and Sydney, say, for instance? How important is that for you to not only network and learn and be educated, but also network with the likes of Britney Spears?
Yeah, super important. We wouldn't have gotten the amount of people listening to our music or industry people backing us if we hadn't have attended those kinds of events. It's also just important to like go out to those festivals and meet other bands and meet other people that are doing the same thing that you're doing and just share contacts. Like, hey, if you're ever in Adelaide, come stay at my house for if you need accommodation or whatever. Like, there's a real community within like our level of music where we are all just out there looking out for each other, which I really like. So yeah, if you do get the opportunity to go to Big Sound or South by Southwest or any of those kind of big events, it's really beneficial.
Yeah. Your EP that came out in 2023, it's the best named EP of all time. She'll Be Right. It's the most Australian name phrasing for a title. So walk us through the process for songwriting. I mean, you've got these amazing catchy hooks. You've got these layered vocal harmonies right throughout it. It scorches from opening to finish and so on.
Thank you.
How does that songwriting process work for you? Are you a person that sits down and knocks it out, or are you patient with your songwriting?
It happens very organically. I think our aim was to release an EP, something that was a little bit more cohesive, where the songs sounded kind of similar to each other. And I wrote maybe 5 or 6 songs, and every single one of them got scrapped just before we started recording because I just wrote some new ones that we liked a whole lot better. So I think, and that's kind of the way that it's always worked. We've gone in to record one song and then right before day go, oh no, I like this song way better, and we just kind of go with our gut instinct in which songs we like the best in the moment. So every single one of those songs were written quite quickly and quite close to the recording date. Yeah, my process is I kind of hear the music in my head. So like I'll be cooking or I'll be at work or something nicely inconvenient and a song will just plant itself in my brain and I have to rush to my phone to either record a voice memo or rush to the guitar and figure it out. So yeah, I don't try to write a song. The song kind of just plops itself in my head most of the time.
I like the word you used before, organically and so on, and it really does have that because you've got this organic sound that you evolved into as yourselves, but still you've got like Rhys Williams producing as well, which brings in that sort of that rock sound of the 90s and so on. But
yeah,
the fact that you understand that music has to be organic before a producer can get it. But how did that feel when you had to scrap everything? Was that a big decision? Like, did you feel like you were discarding things, or was it a refreshing opportunity for
no,
you?
yeah,
Looking back, it sounds fantastic.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. Yeah, no, it was just relieving to. Yeah, I'm fine. Those songs are long forgotten. And hey, they might come back. They might come back up in like a year or two, or I might take bits and pieces from them. But yeah, the ones that we did release were the ones that just felt right in the moment. And Rhys does bring that real like polished quality. He's insane with his producing and engineering and mixing. So he really like the song will come in all the bare bones and he'll go, oh, well, why don't you play the guitar line up here or play the bass line down there? Just like makes it sound a whole lot more polished is a good word.
Yeah. But polished in a way that's not too overproduced, which can happen so easily. But it's polished in that he's understood you as a songwriter, and then the Oscar Wilde as a band. And I think that really comes through because, as you say, in the production, the mixing, the engineering, you can tell it's the same person. Really got their hands on the project. So it's a real great selection. I hope you work together in the future. But those songs, put them aside for the 20th anniversary box set in a couple of years, and we'll get them released for that. Or
Yeah,
B-side to a vinyl or something. So
totally.
the songs themselves, they're this idea of the light at the end of the tunnel. It's things are going to be okay because there's themes in there of hope and optimism, existential fear, and even like the emotional roller coaster of some mental illness. Is it healing sometimes to be able to write like that for yourself, and to be able to share?
Definitely healing. I don't really tend to know what I'm going through until I listen to the lyrics of the song and I go, oh wow, that's kind of dark, or oh wow, that's kind of like I'm growing up kind of thing. You've been fraught with indecision, multicolor, single vision, bound to hear it now. Your arms swallow me completely, talk to me without speaking. I'll take that as a
You mentioned dark there. I mean, you then have musicians are blessed in some cases. They're sometimes cursed with having to balance the light and the dark. Is that something you experience not just in the recording, but when it comes time to perform these songs live?
I think it's to show the dark parts. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to pretend that I'm something that I'm not. Even if I'm in a horrible mental state, I'll probably say that on the stage if we have a gig that day, because we're all human, we're all figuring it out. I think the most healing part of the process, honestly, is when we had someone come up to us and say how the music feels like it eradicates loneliness and really helped them in a time where they felt lonely. I think that's the most healing part, that I can be going through something and feel so lonely and feel so isolated, and then create something that forms a connection with someone else, even if we're not even directly connected. They now have something to keep them company in the same kind of state. I think that's definitely the most healing part, and it's why I'm going to continue in all the songs that we write to be completely honest, whether I'm going through a dark time or whether I'm loving life.
That shows you too, your music then resonates with that person or more than one person, because someone comes up and says to you, hey, I really like your band. There's one thing. Someone comes up and says to you, your songs, your lyrics, your music eradicated my loneliness. I mean, what a deeply thought and provoking and connected way to be with just that one fan. And I think it's also a matter of, if you've got that one fan that feels like that, there's got to be thousands there that are going to share that feeling and that emotion.
Yeah. It's something that I think about a lot, actually.
What about you're working in a very strong community and things like that? Like you talked before about Violent Soho and Courtney Barnett and so on. Is there any bands or any artists that yourselves and the Oscar the Wilder group or yourself as an individual would like to collaborate with in the future, or share a stage with, or tour with?
Oh, great question. Um, every single band member has a really different taste of music, so would have a different answer if you were to ask Nick, or if you were to ask Araya, or if you were to ask Kane. But for me personally, because I'm the one talking, I would say my dream would be to tour with Amyl and the Sniffers. I think that would be insane. I love their music. I adore their music. And I really think that beyond their kind of punk, we don't care at all kind of attitude is some really deep, profound lyrics where it's kind of a choose your own adventure with Amyl and the Sniffers. You can take it on surface value, or you can really go into it as much as you want. Yeah, they would be my number one.
And that sort of band too, where the times I've seen them in the past, you can see them this week, you can see them next week. There's not the same. It's two different shows. every time. You still walk away feeling amazing, but this is not a band that cookie cuts. This is a band that goes out and says, right, let's leave it all out there and make it a different experience. It's a remarkable
Totally.
thing, especially in a day and age where we're threatened by AI and technology and all these other things to make everything so easy. This is a band that still challenges itself to rise, and almost like their first performance. Let's make it, take it that next level. And I think that's really important. So a tour with Oscar the Wild and Amel and the Sniffers would be a fantastic tour. It's if you're listening, guys, let's get in touch because we'll hook you up.
Totally. Amy Taylor,
Yeah,
if you're listening.
perfect. What about yourself as a songwriter and a musician? One of the things we have a lot of discussion around here on the podcast is how much music played in our upbringing. Did you come from a musical background at home, or not so much even people playing instruments, but was there music around you? What type of music were you influenced by when you were younger, by your family?
Yeah, definitely. We listened to a lot of music growing up. My dad's a drummer and my mum's a pianist. So had like growing up, mum taught me piano from like 3. And there was like a lot of music played all the time in the house. I think as a teenager, music was really, really important to get all that teenage angst out. Was singing a lot and I was using the piano, but I just felt like, oh, there's something else that I need to thrash on kind of thing. So at 12 or 13, I taught myself how to play guitar. And yeah, I honestly don't think I would have made it out of those teenage years had I not had the guitar and had songwriting as an activity that I was doing daily. So yeah, for anyone with young kids or teenagers, get them into music. It's could be the best part of their life.
I similarly had a musical background. I was raised, in the 70s and 80s on Neil Diamond, Orbisons, and then, in the mid-90s, I walked in and I saw Nirvana. I got to see Nirvana live.
Whoa.
So looking back now, it's just like, okay, that was cool then. Looking back now and saying, I saw Nirvana. I saw
Yeah.
in a very small club in Sydney. It's just one of those things where it's a timestamp. Everything remains still very resonant around the event. And I was fortunate enough I then get to share that music now with my own children. My daughter and I have been to 2 Kiss farewell tours and so on. They keep going.
For real?
Things like, we're going to see, we're going to see the Killers and so on. And it's an amazing thing to be there with your own child at the Killers, at 1 a.m. It's a fantastic feeling. So that upbringing we have, especially if you're supported by your family and by your parents, and you sound if mum and dad were drummers and pianists, you couldn't get more contrast in musicians, I suppose, having a drummer for a dad and a pianist for a mother. But I think it's the common thing we do find here is that if you come from a musical background or family or people who even love music, it seems to have a longer lasting effect. And it seems to be also a place you can come back to. If things go wrong in your life or if things go awry, you can come back to that vinyl record, or you can come back to that CD or that track that meant something to you.
Totally.
I think it's something which we often overlook. So it's great to hear that you have that background.
Well, I know that.
Talk about live performing for Oscar. Sorry, go ahead.
I know that Nicola, the guitarist, she definitely has that relationship with her dad. Like they listen to classic Aussie dad rock, like Pearl Jam, loves a bit of Nickelback.
Yeah.
No, it's great. I'm all about it. And they went to heaps of festivals together as teenagers, like when she was a teenager, and listened to music so much that I think that is the real reason why she will never stop being obsessed with music. So yeah, you're completely right. That family relationship can be crucial.
I love that Nickelback reference always comes up, that Nickelback is so maligned and so hated now. They're still doing 60 million streams a month. They still sell out tours. They've just done a documentary, and it's like, oh, poor Nickelback. Everyone gets mentioned Nickelback, people just sort of put a hood over their head and hide. It's a secret entrance to their concert, I'm sure. But
yeah, poor guys.
Quite right. I mean, Pearl Jam has evolved as well. Pearl Jam's evolved, but then you've got bands like the Ramones are still true to themselves, and Debbie Harry when she plays a Blondie and so on, all that sort of pre-grunge stuff, that punk stuff that came out, like that CGBG era. That's why it lasts, I think, and that's the thing where if you can identify that as a musician yourself, I think that creates a great foundation for yourself and the band for the future then, because it's all you said like before, like your band is a different, I suppose, fusion, all different musical influences. It would be very different, I think, if you all had exactly the same interests in music, the exact same 4 bands that you loved, whereas I think this is going to be quite a musical fusion for quite some time based off what I've heard so far. So we need to keep stoking that fire pretty quickly. Let's talk about live performances. Where are some of the places you've played already that you'd love to perform at?
Always love the Cranker. The Cranker feels like the heaven of the like dive bar kind of venues. Lion Arts is a really solid venue to play at. We've enjoyed every single gig that we've played there. The Gov is iconic. Jive is iconic as well. But personally, my favorite stage that we played at was at a festival called Surfarama Festival down on the York Peninsula. And this guy, I think his name was Eddie. I think it was his shed that just like had a stage put up, temporary stage put up in his shed. And I think he put sand like down on the dance floor. And that was probably the best live gig I think we've played. The way that live music should be performed, you know, in someone's backyard in a shed with a whole bunch of families and dogs and kids running around.
I think it's the one thing about Adelaide and South Australia is it has this real network of great music venues that you know you can almost play a circuit and just keep going round and round, can't you? It's you know, and it's always well supported, not just by the punters, but the venues are always very supportive of original live music. I think that's one thing. Where Sydney here, where I'm based, is just, hey, you know, there's one venue in Sydney which is like you've got to play 80% covers in your set list, and it's just like, how does that encourage anything, you know? Whereas, and that's the thing, like, you can get 5 times as much money for a cover gig in Sydney than you can for an original gig. Whereas Adelaide and South Australia seems to have a much more supportive industry and community of people who want to go and see original live music, and I think it's been something that's been like that from the 70s, you know. Back in the day, it's like when Jimmy Barnes and Hot Chisel emerged out of that Elizabeth area. So I think it's a great foundation for you. And I think that when you say those stages, just hearing you talk about how invested and how passionate you are as a band to play there, I think that's then fed back from the fans as well. So it's a great community there. For those who haven't been to South Australia, when you do go across the Semaphore, spend a couple of days there supporting other live music as well, because it's a great community. Okay. Let's head towards the end of the So what can we expect for the Semaphore Music Festival for Oscar the Wild when you hit the stage? What can we expect?
Expect the unexpected, I guess. I don't really know what will happen when we're up there, but something fun, I hope. We've got some new songs that we're going to test out. And I don't really know. I honestly don't really know. You're going to have to be there to find out.
I was about to say, don't tell them, make them come to the show, and that's how I get there.
Yeah, tease it out a little bit.
New songs, are we online? Are we exactly drag them out? We're not going to tell you have to come, and you can't tell anyone to take photos.
Totally.
You said some new songs. Are there plans to head to the studio early next year, sometime next year, or what's the thoughts?
I'm not exactly sure what I'm allowed to say. I did message Nicola before being like, quick, what am I allowed to say? But I think all I can say is just keep your eyes peeled on our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those kind of things. And that's where the announcements will come out. So, yeah, there'll definitely be new music sometime in the future.
Fantastic. And the last question, we ask the same question for every interview. We do the last question. What's it feel like to be Ruby Gazzola when you walk on stage as part of Oscar the Wild?
Whoa, that's a huge question. It feels like I don't know. It feels like it honestly feels like
give me 3 words.
It feels like we're the naughty kids in the class about to pull a prank on the teacher. That's what it feels like. I go out on stage thinking, all right, how can I shock everyone as much as possible? How can I get that line which is just acceptable? That's what it feels like.
And to push over it, or just maintain that acceptable line?
I can meet it, greet it,
Depends on the night, I
and then
suppose.
step back away.
At Semaphore, we want you to go over the line, okay? So if you see the line there, just dip your toe into it. We'll see what rests on the other side for sure. So
That's really
thank you so much for your time today. It's safe for me to say Sydney and Sydney. So when Deb hears me say that, she'll be on to me in a heartbeat. So, well, thank you so much for your time today, Ruby Gazzola, Moscow Wild. Congratulations. It's a fantastic EP. She'll Be Right. It's one of my favorite album titles of all time.
Thanks.
But a real testament to the fact that Australian indie pop, Australian grunge music has a long lifespan ahead of it, with bands like Oscar Wilde leading the charge with an EP like that. So congratulations to yourself and to the rest of the band, and we look forward to catching up with you, everyone, as we head back towards Semaphore for the 20th anniversary of the Semaphore Music Festival, 4th to the 7th of October on that long weekend. Ruby, we'll see you there. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam.